It's finally time to update the CDL power rankings after Major 2. And we're going to kick it straight off with our number 12 team. Like I always say, they're always at number 12, but maybe with this roster mania period, they could potentially see themselves rise up the ranks with potentially Pred heading over there with a few other guys like Arcides and Priesta teaming up with Xnid. Should be interesting to see, but currently in the rankings, right, they just still haven't won the hard point. They still haven't won a series. They're at number 12. And then still at number 11, I still have LAG. They also did not get a win on land. These guys also blowing it up. It looks like Kismet getting the keys. Johnny and Fellow coming on over to also pair up with Lunars. And we'll see how they continue to play. But again, another team they're just staying here at the bottom. Then moving into number 10, down one spot, I have the Miami Heretics. Miami only played one series at Major 2 where they lost 3-1 to LA Thieves. Real was an absolutely insane series, 117 kills plus 28 for the L. That's just insane to see. But yeah, Miami's one of those teams that I was low on coming into the tournament, right? Their top 3 at Major 1 I thought was kind of going to be their highest placing. We'll see if they can prove me wrong, right? Also, Super is now coming in for Lucky, which if you look at the scoreboard, makes a lot of sense, right? Him going minus 24. So we'll see if they improve, but for now, they're sitting at number 10. Then coming in at number 9, down 2 spots, I have the Minnesota Rocker. Rocker played one series at the Major, and they got 3-0'd by OPTIC Texas, who was, fresh off a roster change to their credit, right? Obviously bringing in Skies, but, Rocker probably should have won this series in the grand scheme of how things were going previously leading up to the event. Gio, the only one to go positive in this series. Not really a lot going on for anybody on the Rocker team, though, overall, other than him. And then, obviously, OPTIC, who we're going to talk about. But Rocker have to fall. If you lose 3-0 to OPTIC, who's coming into this event 1-6, you're definitely dropping in the rankings. Then coming in at number 8, up 2 spots, I do have OPTIC Texas. Like I said, OPTIC came into this event 1-6. They were falling in the power rankings, but they got a great series out of Shotzi. Dashy, Pred doing his thing. Skies, minus 13 isn't really the best, right? But it kind of is what it is. He had 140 hill time in map 1, sitting on the objective, which I guess is ultimately going to be his goal, or was his goal on this team right now. OPTIC also making a roster change. Rocker also apparently making a roster change. And these two play each other this coming Friday in just a couple days, with potentially Kenny heading over there, which should be interesting for the Minnesota Rocker and OPTIC. But, like I said, OPTIC won, Rocker lost, so 1 drops and 1 goes up. Then you move into number 7, up a spot, I have the Boston Breach. Boston is a bit of a tough team to rank this week because after 3-1ing LAT, right, the number 1 seed, undefeated, looking like the best team in the game coming into this event, I want to move them higher, but honestly, the people above them I felt shouldn't fall that low. So Boston just kind of is going to be sticking around this number 7 spot, right? Snoopy had a phenomenal series versus LAT. But they all relatively did their job, and this was painful for me to watch at the event. But then they got 3-1 by the Vancouver Surge here. Everyone going negative, red carpet for the side of Boston, 3-1. And then they got 3-0'd by Toronto Ultras. So they beat LAT, they get their top 6, and then they get double rounded out of the tournament, right? Not really anything to do crazy. This Boston team not making a change. Just another one of those teams that, I feel like long-term making a change is probably better for them, but they continue to just pick up wins where necessary, just sort of keep the team together. So we'll see what they continue to do, but I think they were one of those teams that should have made a change, and now a lot of the good talent in challengers is gone. There's still some down there for sure, but a lot of talent in challengers has now been picked up, so they're going to put themselves in an interesting spot come champs time. Moving over to the left side of the board into our top 6. I also want to say sorry for the delay on this video with all the roster mania stuff that was coming out, and then also post-event, I had that post-event sickness, was not feeling too good. So sorry this was a little bit delayed, but we'll be back on our typical Monday morning schedule for our power rankings videos. And coming in at number 6, I do have the Carolina Royal Ravens down 3 spots. Ravens did play 3 series, but they ultimately went 1-2, losing 3-0 in winners. Winners round 1 to the Vancouver Surge, as you can see here. Everybody going negative on the side of Ravens. It was, a relatively close series. You look at the maps, right? These are all decently close. Maybe the Surge wasn't as close as you'd like, especially for a Ravens team that's pretty good at that mode. But they ended up losing there. Then they 3-0'd the Vegas Falcons, which, it makes sense, right? It's the Vegas Falcons at the end of the day. And then they got 3-0'd by LAT, who were trying to get through their losers run. Also, this is just one of the series of the year where it doesn't ever feel that close. LAT always seems to run the Ravens. 100-point club them easily in map 1, 6-1, 3-1. The Ravens are a team that, there was rumors they were going to be making changes. Apparently, Kenny was going to be going over there for Vivid, and then that fell through because of contract and buyout issues. The Ravens not wanting to pay for Kenny. And then there's a whole bunch of other different things. It doesn't look like they're making a change. Their scrims have not looked good versus Optic, some of the stuff we've seen on stream. So we're going to have to see how they play. But Ravens, to me, kind of in a rough spot. I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to fall, even though I do think this Ravens team is pretty good. Then we get to number 5, up a spot, I have Cloud9 New York. C9 actually started their weekend hot with a 3-0 over Toronto Ultra, who, as we all know, ended up getting a top 3 at this event. Very, very close series. I mean, 2 points in the HP, 1 round, round 11 in the SND, and then obviously last round in the control. This was just behind a great team effort. A couple big individual plays here and there from players, attached 4-piece to close out the Hacienda HP. But everyone did their job, and C9 was looking pretty good, man. I was surprised when they beat Ultra, genuinely. I thought they could do it, but especially in a 3-0 fashion, despite it being close, I was surprised. But then they went on to play Atlanta FaZe. They got 3-1 there. A Kremp, the only one really going positive in the series. Attach had a really rough one. And then they also got 3-0'd by LA Thieves the following day, or actually in the same day as they lost. So they lost both these series in the same day, which is pretty tough way to go out of the tournament. Mac having a rough series there. This one was a little closer, right? Again, round 11 in the Skyline. Control, last map. The HP wasn't that close, but C9's a team that continues to kind of like slowly, I feel like, build their way up in the power rankings, and hasn't made a roster change. Didn't make a roster change. A lot of people want to see Pred go over there, but I'm excited to see how they look in stage 3. But now we get into our top 4. And again, these are power rankings. These are mine. If you want to do these in a different way, you totally could. But for me, this is how I felt most comfortable, what I felt was fairest. At number 4, down 3 spots, I do have LA Thieves. It pains me to say it. But yeah, I have them down at 4. LAT obviously had a majorly disappointing weekend. We already talked about the Boston series, losing 3-1 there. Then versus Miami Heretics, getting the job done. Not necessarily easily, right? If you look at the numbers, it doesn't look that, it kind of looks like Miami maybe should have won this series, but they were able to get that done here. Then they took down the Ravens in a pretty easy fashion, as they tend to do. Then they took down C9 in another pretty easy, not too difficult of a series. And then they lost 3-0 to the Toronto Ultra in a series where they just got worked, man. It wasn't even close. It never felt like they even had a chance, honestly, watching this series, especially me being at the event. It just did not feel like there was any chance. They got slammed map 1. Map 2 looks like 6-4, like it was maybe a little bit close, but to be honest, I just never felt confident in that map watching. And then 3-0 in the control. It was just an absolute masterclass out of everybody on Toronto, but especially Joe Deceives was just not losing a gunfight. But obviously, we're going to talk about Ultra here in a sec. Going into number 3, up 2 spots, is Toronto Ultra right on cue. Toronto had themselves a long weekend, right? Playing 6 total matches across this weekend is definitely a lot of COD. 3-0 versus C9, as we already talked about. Then they got their bounce back in losers, taking down LAG. Obviously, I mean, LAG just wasn't good, so this was kind of to be expected. Pretty easy series from there, other than the round 11 in the Skyline SND map 2. Then they 3-0'd Optic Texas, another pretty easy one for them, as expected, right? If Optic got out of that round, going up against Ultra, probably not looking like they were going to take that one. Then they 3-0'd Boston. Toronto, once they dropped the losers, was just not losing maps. I believe they went 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, and then 3-0 again here, right? 12 maps straight in losers, also taking down LAT. But then they eventually lost 3-1 to the Vancouver Surge, who obviously made their way into the final and sent Toronto out top 3. The Ultra team having a much better major than they did at Major 1, which is good to see. And another team that, like I said, for C9, I'm excited to see how they look this stage. But now we get into our top 2. I mean, it's obvious who's going to be where, right? I don't really have to say too much about that. Surge up 2 spots in number 2, and FaZe up 1 spot in the number 1. For the Surge, they took down Ravens in round 1, 3-0. Then they took down Boston Breach in winners round 2, 3-1. Then they lost to Atlanta FaZe in a Game 5 round 11. That's also the second time FaZe has won Game 5 round 11, by the way, in winners finals, both majors. I mean, look at the scoreboard, right? Celium, this is what happens when you get a Neslo. Your team goes mostly negative, but you still win the series. Then they got their bounce back and losers to secure a spot in the grand finals versus Ultra, as we talked about. And then they got 4-0'd in the grand finals. This was not close. Celium went plus 41 in the finals, the 1.72. That's got to be a record number, or if not close to a record number. Absolutely insane. There just wasn't really a whole lot of fight out of them in the grand finals. I think they ran out of gas going through some grueler series here leading up to this. And then we talk about the number 1 team, Atlanta FaZe, 3-0'd Minnesota Rocker. Nothing much to be said there. 3-1 to Cloud9 New York. Again, Kremp was the only one who really shot back for C9 in this series, it felt like. And FaZe just is FaZe. And then 3-2 in winners finals versus Surge. 4-0 in the grand finals. Atlanta FaZe back-to-back events, technically back-to-back majors here this season in BO6. Looking good. Looking like they could potentially, I mean, maybe they can make it 3 at Major 3. But those are the power rankings heading into the first week of Major 3 qualifiers. Obviously going to adjust these this coming Monday based on what happens this weekend. So if you want to hang out, watch the matches with me, we'll be live here on the channel, watch partying all the CDL matches, as well as we're going to be watching scrims and challengers pretty much regularly. As long as they're continuing to stream scrims specifically, we'll continue to watch party them here on the channel. So if you want to hang out on YouTube, you don't like Twitch ads, here's the place you can be. Turn those noties on, sub to the channel. We just hit 9K, by the way, so thank you for that. Road to 10 starts now. And let me know what you think about the power rankings, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next video.